Hello friend, welcome back. In our previous video, we set up our project for our e-commerce, right? So that is our project. So right now we already set up it. So now I want to create one of the model. And this model will be a little bit different from our previous one. Because previous all the tower section, we have used the default one, user model. So now we will create this user model. Okay, so before going to the user, we already get all the tower building field like as a username, password, email address, first name and the last name. But right now I want to create our authentication system as per our demand. So how can create customized authentication? I will show you. For doing this in our app logging, so into the app logging, that is our models. So here we have to work. So now first of all we have to import some of the class. Okay, so here I want to get our form and the Django and then the contrib. So from to the contrib, then the auth and then our models. So from here I want to import some of the building class as a base user manager. So I just simply define as a base user manager. Okay, so I just name it as a base user manager. And also I want to take another one as a abstract base user. So every functionality why I'm actually using it I will show you. But right now first of all I want to import it as a abstract base user. And also I want to take another one as a permission mixin. Okay, permission mixed in. So that's all that building functionality. So when we will run it, then everything will be very much clear to you and you will like it very much. Okay, because here we will create our own authentication system. So here I define that Django and the utils and then the translation. So then the translation, and from here I want to input another class as a UZTest. Okay, UZTest underscore lazy. So here that's all that our building class, and now I want to create another class and I just name it as a my user manager. So just name it as a my user manager, and here it should be inherited our this class. That means that is a clear base user manager class. So I just simply defining it on here. And after that I want to create one of the function, and here I don't want to log in with the username and the password. Here I want to log in with the email address and the password, because of all into the e-commerce side we need that email address, right? That means the customer email address. So for the reasons I want to make that functionality a little bit different way. So here I define one of the function. I just simply define that function, and here I name it as a create underscore user. So and then I have to also define that things with the self, right? So here I simply define as a self, and here I want to use that email field. So here I define as an email and the password, and then we have to make the things our extra field. So here with this I just simply define as extra underscore field. Okay, and after that I want to define if is not getting that email, then what exactly the message it should be display. Okay, so here I define one of the condition as if not email. That means if this field is not email, then it should be rise. Okay, then it should be rise some of the errors. So if you want to show some of the value error, you have also they have another function as a value error. Okay, so with this value error I want to show some of the message, then it should be display as the email must be set. So this type of message it should be display. After that we have to normalize with this field, that means this email field. Okay, so here if you want to normalize it, then I just simply define our email field, and our email field will be as a self. So there friend, everything is actually default. Okay, you have to actually do that work. So that is all that default functionality that we have to use. So I just simply define as a normalize underscore email, and here we have to pass that our email. I just simply pass it, and then also we have to set our user. So here we have to define that user with the self, and that will be as a model, and with this model we have to pass our email. So our email will be compared with our email. So here I just simply defining it. So as I told you, when I actually run it, then it will be very much clear to you what exactly the update I have defining on here. And it should be also here we have to define our extra field on particular that area. So into the extra field area, I want to add our user password. So here I just simply define that our user, with this user I define that our set password. Okay, I just simply define as a set password, and our field name will be as a password. And then I want to save this user. So I just simply define this user and then save. And here we have to define that using. So I just simply define it using, and here you have to define that self, and then ._db. Okay friends, so that is as I told you, so everything is by default one of the building functionality. So here I have defined that all that part as a normalized email field, and then that is our email, and here I want to add with our email another extra field that is will be our password. Okay, and after this I want to return this user. So I just simply define as a return user. Perfect. And after that I want to create another function. Here I want to create another function for our super user. So here I define another function. So I just simply define the def, and then I just put that function name. So here now I define that function name as a create. Okay, create _ super user. And with the super user, first of all I define that self, and for the super user we have to define that email and then our password, right? And here, because of all in particular that position, I have already defined our two of this field. One will be our email field, another will be our password, right? So now I want to create another super user. So I think you already know about it, the super user. So with this super user you can actually access that default Django admin area. So now I want to define some of the functionality for our admin. So previously, as I told you, we have used default one, but right now we will create it. So when actually I will run this functionality, then everything will be very much clear to you, as I told you before. So here I create one of the function, and I just put that function name as a create user, and here I define that self, our email field, password field, and also I want to take another extra field. Okay, so after this I want to take another extra field, and into this field area, first of all I want to define our extra field. Okay, extra field, and into the extra field area I set one of the default values. So here I want to define that set default. Okay, so I just simply define as a set default, and into the set default area I want to define some of the text. So in our admin panel they have some of the option, that means the check mark option as the is stuff, that means the is super user or the active user it or not. So you can set your all that privilegization for the user, right? So now we are actually defining that part. So here I define that name will be as the is, that is actually is stuff. Okay, so that's all that actually by default building one of the field in Django. So here I'm using as is stuff. Okay, and also I want to make the things as a true. Here I miss our colon. Okay, and now also we have to define our another field. So here I define the extra. With the extra field I just simply define as a set default, and also now I want to define another field. So that will be as is _ super user. Okay, super user, and also I want to make the things as a true, and then also I want to do better here. Here I take another extra field, and extra field will be as a set default, and into the set default area I have to define our field as a is _ active. So here you have to put that appropriate name because that's all the default. Okay, so here I also want to make the things as a true. Perfect. So now I want to define one of the condition. Okay, I just define as a if our this extra field, that means if extra field, what exactly I define as a easy stuff. So if this easy stuff is not true, because of all here I have defined that as a true, right? So when it should be not true, I want to display some of the message. Okay, I want to display some of the message with our value arrow function. So that is our extra field. So into the extra field here I define that when you get, okay, when you will be get as a our field as a is stuff, when it should be as a not true, so I just simply define as a is not true. So when it should be not true, then it should be rise some of the message, that means the error message. So I just simply define as a rise. Okay, it should be rise some of the value error, and the value error here I want to display that error. It should be display as a super. Okay, super user must have is underscore stuff. Okay, is stuff must have that, make that things as a true. Okay, so this type of actually one of the message it should be display that super user must have is field should be as a true. So this type of one of the message it should be display. And else also I want to define another one. I define another if condition, and then our extra, and into the extra field I also define that get, and into the get area. So right now our this one, that means when our is super, okay, so when our is super field is not true, so then also it should be show some of the another error message, that means it should be rise some of the message. So I just simply define the rise and then value. Into the value error it should be show some of the another message as a super user must have this, that means in super is equal to true. Okay, so here here it should be display this message, and rather than I just make the things as a returned, and then with the self here we have to pass our this user. So here I have defined that user with our this function as a create user, right? So with this self here I define that our create user, so our create user will be as with the email. So here I define email, password, and also our extra field. So here I just simply defining that extra field. Okay friend, and now after that I also want to take another class. So here I want to take another class, and I just name that class as a user. So for the user I want to make the things as a abstract class. So it will be as a abstract. So that is our abstract base user. So with this base user also here it should be extended with our another class as a permission. So here I define that permission mixed in. And now I want to make our email field will be as a unique, because with this user we have to defining it. Before that was actually the default one we have used. So right now I make the things as email and email models. Okay, that means with these models, and here the type will be as email field type. So I just simply define as a email field. Okay, so that is email field, and our this email field will be unique. Okay, unique. So unique, and also I want to make the things will be as a true. That means email field will be true, and also it will be null, and null will be as a false. Okay, so I just simply defining it. And now they have the all that our fields. So that is a by default all that our admin field. So this is the is stuff, is super user, right? So now first of all for our this one, that means our easy stuff here I want to define some of the text. Okay, that means this will be put some of the action on here, and here I want to define that make as a boolean one of the field for this one. Like I just simply define the models. Okay, that will be as a models. So friend, now maybe it's a little bit hard for you to understand, because of all here you can see that output. Okay, when I show you that output, then every line will be very much clear to you why I am actually using it. So now I am using actually the easy stuff. Into the easy stuff there is a model, and here I define one of the model type will be as a boolean. Okay, boolean field. So I just simply define it will be as a boolean field, and into the boolean field area here I want to define one of the boolean field text. So here we have to define that with the UZ text lazy. So with this here I have marked this field as a stuff status. Okay, stuff status, whatever you want. So that is actually one of the text which will be visible actually. So I just simply define as a stuff status. So here whatever the things you will put, it will be display this type of one of the level name. Okay, and also here I want to make the things as a default false. Okay, default, and I just make the things as a false. Okay, I just make as a false for this one, And also here I want to show some of the help text. Help text means it should be display some of the text. Okay, so here I take one of the, there is also one of the building function, so in Django. So here I want to use it as a help text. So with this help text I want to display some of the level text. So with this there is UZ text lazy. With this lazy text, here I want to define some of the text that I want to visible. And so here I define as a design. Okay, designs, so whatever you want. So designs, whether the user can log in the site. Okay, this type of one of the text will be visible. And also here we have to make the things in here. I just put that our text, then it will be better. So that is our is, and then I want to define another one. I want to define another one for our this one, that means this field as a is active. Okay, so for this is active, what is the text you want to visible into the boolean area? I want to just simply defining it. So here with these models, okay, with these models I want to define the type will be as a boolean field, and with the boolean field area here I also want to define the same things. Okay, here I want to make that our this with this users text. So with this users lazy, here I want to define it should be as a active. Okay, it should be display this type of one of the active, and also after this it should be show some of the help text. So better I just simply copy it. It should be show some of the help text as a with our users text lazy designer weather. So I want to change it. Now this user should be treated, okay, treated as active. So this type of one of the message it should be visible. Okay, and also after that what exactly we have to do? By default in our user model here we by default get that username, right? So now I want to change that portion. I want to change that portion username to the email address. So for the reasons here we have to define that part. So here I define our username field. Okay, username underscore field, so it should be as our email. And our objects, okay, our objects will be our my user manager. That means here, so that is actually our class. So here that should be our this object, because into this object area I have already defined all that our field, right? So all that our field, that means here it should be set by the email address and the password, not the username. So for the reasons here I define that our object will be our my user, that is manager. Okay, so here it should be this one. And also after this I want to define our all that string function. So here I define that function, it should be the string. So here after this which will be as a self. With this self here we have to pass it. So I just simply define the return, I just simply define the return and then self. So with this self I want to pass our email. So I just simply pass that email. Okay, and also here we have to define another one function, that means our def function, and here it should be as a get full name. So I just simply define the get full underscore name, and it should be also the self, and then also it should be return. It should be return and the self the email. That means all that user functionality field I want to change it to the email, because here I don't want to define that field, I don't want to exist it. Okay, and here after that I want to take another one, and this will be as a get short. Okay, get underscore short name. So it's the self. So with the self here I want to also defining the return, and return with our self email. Okay, I just simply define that self email. So here with this we actually defining our username. So our username field will be directed to our email, so there will be no exist with our that means default one, the default that was actually username. So now I just make the things with the email, and here I stand with our email, and the full name will be as email and the short name. So that means every functionality I want to remove, and here I want to make the things with our objects. Here I define our my user manager objects class, and with this class I have already defined two of these field will be selected. One will be as the email address and the password. Okay friend, so now also we have to create another class. We have to create another class for our profile. So that is also be important, because when this user will be created automatically for this user, it will be created another profile. Okay, so it's also be important. So better I want to continue this process. In our next video I will show you how can do that work. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.